only way open source can be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we should be live. And for those of you that are hanging out in the YouTube chat, let me know, can you hear me? And can you hear these guys?
Hello.
All right, and we should be live.
Hello.
All right, and for those of you that are hanging out in the YouTube chat, let me know, can you hear me? And can you hear these guys?
I think I can hear.
All right, and we should be live.
Hello.
All right, those of you that are hanging out in the YouTube chat, let me know, can you hear me? And can you hear these guys?
I think I can hear.
All right, and we should be live.
Hello.
All right, those of you that are hanging out in the YouTube chat, let me know, can you hear me? And can you hear these guys?
I think I can hear.
All right, and we should be live.
Hello.
All right, those of you that are hanging out in the YouTube chat, let me know, can you hear me? And can you hear these guys?
I think I can hear.
All right, and we should be live.
Hello.
All right, those of you that are hanging out in the YouTube chat, let me know, can you hear me? And can you hear these guys?
I think I can hear.
All right, and we should be live.
Hello.
All right, those of you that are hanging out.
Now do you run the OBS Snap Flatpak app image? I mean, what do you run? Do you run?
No, this is the native Arch package.
Now do you run the OBS Snap Flatpak app image? I mean, what do you run? Do you run?
No, this is the native. Hold on, just a second, guys.
Do you run the OBS
Arch package doesn't have the browser plugin and it's
app image? I mean, what do you run? Do you run?
No, this is the native. Hold on, just a second, guys.
Do you run the OBS
Arch package doesn't have the browser plugin and it's
app image? I mean, what do you run? Do you run?
Hello, Willy Wonka.
All right, guys, that was very weird. I think let's see if the YouTube chat can actually hear me and hear you guys.
Can you guys hear me?
But I had a very strange issue. Hold on just a second. Where the audio was stuck on a loop.
Oh,
very nice. It was very weird. And it had something to do with the Brave browser.
No. Wait. Did you say loop?
Yeah.
I have the same issue with it's related to the kernel.
Is it?
Sometimes.
Okay.
What the hell? That is weird.
Yeah.
That was very, very strange. It was like every 5 seconds the same audio would play.
Yeah, I have the same issue. I have the same issue to this day. It started from kernel 6012 and onwards.
All right. Those of you in the YouTube chat, let me know, can you hear me? Which I'm pretty sure you can. Let me know if you can hear the guest as well, because they are on a different audio stream than me.
I think I could hear myself. But I'll try.
And you didn't.
You think you can hear yourself? Well, if you can hear yourself, then we know you guys are good.
Listening to yourself.
Yeah, Steven says he can hear everyone.
Elvis used to complain to the kernel about a loop too.
Yeah, ever since the the kernel 6.0, things started going strange, behaving strangely, one after the other, after the other, after the other.
All right, appreciate you guys in the chat for letting us know on the sound check.
Yes, yet.
That's Linux for you.
That's 6.1.
Oh,
you know what? That might be my problem. I normally run the LTS kernel. The other day, I booted the standard kernel rather than the LTS kernel because I had a problem with the LTS kernel for some reason. I can't remember. Something to do with I was recording something wasn't working right. I just changed kernels. So that might have been something not to do. Don't change a kernel before doing a live stream.
Yeah. That's why I ship the regular kernel in Zero Linux and tell the users, if you change kernels and you have issues, it's on you. Just know that kernels are very sensitive.
I keep the LTS and the non-LTS kernels both on all of my machines, just in case I have a problem with one. I go to the other just to see if it fixes things. I probably shouldn't do that, though. Swap between kernels all the time.
I run the TKG kernel. I build the TKG kernel because it's not on the AUR. I build the TKG kernel. I use it most of the times. Whenever I have issues, I switch back to the normal kernel. I have no issues.
For a while, I had my own kernel.
Yeah.
Now, before we started the stream and had all the audio issues, we were briefly talking about open source projects, raising money. This time of year, at the end of the year, a lot of big open source projects and small open source projects are looking for end of the year donations. I know a lot of people are looking to donate to projects. I know KDE, for example, has a big end of the year drive every year looking for donations. Obviously, projects like OBS, GIMP, Kdenlive, Blender, a lot of the stuff I use on a daily basis, I typically donate to, and I know those projects are looking for donations. So find pieces of software that you use, that you depend on, that are free and open source. And you know what? Here's my rule of thumb. Think about the proprietary alternatives you would have had to pay for that software, and just pay that money to the open source project.
Yeah.
If you were going to pay for an Adobe subscription for Premiere Pro, for example, you know what? Throw the KDE team a little money, so Kdenlive gets a little help. Or if you were going to buy Photoshop, you know what? Donate that money to GIMP.
Yeah, if you're gonna buy Photoshop, you probably bought Photoshop, not used GIMP, because there is no.
No. GIMP is better than Photoshop.
No, it's not.
It's not exactly.
Somebody in YouTube chat says donate to KeyPass also.
Yeah, well, no. I have a problem, and I've always had this problem. That's why I really have never talked about it on camera. I have never used one of these online password managers. Just manage that stuff yourself. Maintain your own local database of your passwords. That way you're responsible for it. Anytime you put that stuff in the hands of somebody else, you're asking for trouble, because now you've got millions of people using these things, and that becomes such a big target. Of course, hackers are going to eventually break into that stuff.
I use Bitwarden, locally
issue.
hosted Bitwarden. I don't connect online or create an online account. It's just the database is on my computer, not online. So.
Yeah,
it's a twofold issue we need to understand. First of all, it's a usability issue. Second of all, it's a security issue.
Yeah.
Usability issue. Let's be clear.
People are lazy.
Making your key pass and then passing it around, it is a bad UX. No matter how much it is, that is a bad user experience.
I will say, yes, for anybody,
most people will want to choose something like LastPass, hosted Bitwarden, and something like that, because it is much easier and that's much more usable. We should remember that we shouldn't go and yell at people for using LastPass because at least they went with a password manager. Sorry, but most people don't use a password manager. They have one password. They have two different passwords. That's all they have.
Yeah, but that's not a good idea either.
No,
that's
it's a much better idea to have a password manager.
There's a lot of people who I ask, they use their browser's password manager.
And that's not a good idea either.
That's not a good idea either, because I don't trust a lot of the... Yeah. What I would suggest is, for those of you, especially those that are watching and they're newer to my channel, haven't seen some of my older videos, check out the standard pass tool, the Unix password store. It's just a program that's...
If you actually use your password on your computer, really.
Well, no, I mean, you could share it. You would just have to find a way to share the database among... It's not that hard. If you're a Nextcloud user, that's what I do. You can just put your password store on your Nextcloud. Of course, you'd have to make sure your Nextcloud server is secure. But who's looking to hack my Nextcloud server? Probably no one. Who's looking to hack some big online database of millions of users? A lot of people.
Most hacking attempts are drive-by hacking attempts. You should remember that. It's just randomly hitting things and seeing what doesn't.
Yeah, but even if they hacked my Nextcloud server, the password store is still encrypted. I mean, it's GPG encrypted, but they could still, I guess, get into it. But it will require some work for one person's password. They'd have to put in a lot of work to steal one person's password
to get into that what's it called, that LastPass vault. Those are not just on the server unencrypted or something. They're heavily encrypted on the server. and they have the vaults. Now I have to just get into those vaults.
Yeah, but you're still putting your passwords in somebody else's wallet.
Yeah,
on the server. I have a computer. I have my Raspberry Pi now. I didn't know what to do with it at the time, but my Raspberry Pi is now the local Bitwarden password vault.
Well, at the end of the day, hackers are always going to be after you. Scammers and thieves.
Public.
This is a problem that's been with us since the beginning of time. It will always be with us. Lowlifes are always looking to take advantage of other people. Even if we fix this problem, there'll be another problem that they'll try to exploit.
So when people say, "Okay, I have all my password in an encrypted database, but on Google Drive," well, you just gave your passwords to Google basically, because Google has enough tools and enough money to create tools to unencrypt the whole thing.
Yeah, and I would trust a company like Google a little more with passwords than a smaller company. I mean,
well,
I hate to say that, but Google is $1 trillion company. Yeah. I don't trust what Google does with my data, but I trust Google will protect my data from other people at least.
They can't afford that kind of scandal. While the smaller company can just fold and, they just pull out and that's it. Company size of Google can't do that. Company size of Microsoft, Amazon, they just can't do that. It would, the people who were in charge would be in too much trouble, essentially, because if that happened, everyone who owned stocks of it could get a piece of the damages and stuff like that. It's
Google's a publicly traded company, so they would lose billions of dollars quickly in a day if there was a big scandal.
People in the lead would lose. That's the catch if they try to pull out. Then
I think I'm just gonna invest in Post-it notes.
No, don't. Those are even worse.
There are a lot of people that do recommend that. A lot of the only way to be secure is just write it down on a Post-it note or put it on a note under your keyboard. Nobody will ever look under your keyboard for your passwords. That's
the fact
because real world you're
down means that it's probably not secure enough to be actually usable, because it has to be retypable. Therefore, it's probably insecure. It doesn't have certain special characters that's hard to type and stuff like that. And since you have to read it every time, it will be in certain ways readable, and it will be probably not pseudo-random. Not random, it will be heavily pseudo-random. So it will be bad password essentially, and probably short term. So it is easily crackable and easily guessable through social engineering and stuff like that.
I will say a lot of people underestimate the possibility of someone actually physically robbing you and stealing your computer.
But then,
so leaving things written down like that is you're just making it easy for them. Like it's
once they get to the computer, it's over.
Yeah, but all that goes back. Reminds me of all this discussion. Reminds me of the Isaac Asimov story, The Tower. It's an amazing story if you haven't read it, because it talks all about passwords and password cracking and stuff like that by the American government. Basically, as soon as it's on the internet, you're giving them stuff to have fun with.
Yeah, but that's just till we blow up the internet and start all over.
You can't start over.
It's too far gone. We can't start over now. I think we could.
I think your internet is the connections that are made, and those would stay the same. What would be different with the protocols? You mean world?
Yeah, well, that's fair. Yeah, I was talking more about the web protocol. Yeah, not necessarily the internet.
That doesn't make sense to replace nowadays, because all too much depends on it. Really, everything that isn't actually.
Well, you'd still leave the web up for the normies, but the rest of the cool kids, we'd be on something else, right?
BBS, man, BBS.
There you go. Telnet.
Oh, BBS. Oh, the good old days. The good old days.
Well, I would be still cool and remain on actually usable stuff.
You know what? Those old protocols are still the best. IRC. I mean, it's still the best chat protocol.
Oh yeah, I still use it.
IRC has usability problems.
It's so much fun with the commands and the bots and the scripts and all that. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
I never found finding that. But then again, I remember the old days of IRC when there was basically virus by virus.
You were getting viruses on IRC?
Yeah. There used to be a lot of groups that were just sending each other files, pictures, stuff like that. And if you accidentally you got virus.
Yeah, I could see that, especially on some of the groups that are sharing stuff. Yeah. That was the same way with what happened to Usenet, because they were sharing, binaries and things like that. Yeah, you couldn't trust any of that.
Oh my God.
My problem with IRC, it has no memory.
Yeah, well,
and then you have to go a rigmarole of setting up a bouncer or something like the launch. And again, that's shitty user experience when something like this.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to say something and know it's not going to be forever recorded.
It probably will be, because at least one nerd will be good enough to actually create a bouncer, or where it's stored in a log on the server.
Yeah.
So it is always stored.
Yeah, I store mine. I do a log file.
You don't see the history.
Yeah, you store yours, HipDad?
Yeah, I store a log file of my HexChat, but I just use it to keep in touch with the crossover devs and a small group of crossover people.
And there are some clients that take care of some of that for you.
Yeah, and there's something I discovered recently thanks to a friend on Mastodon called Simple XChat.
Yeah, I've tried that before. It's not bad.
It's not bad, and I like the client on Arch. It's all in the terminal. It's terminal based. It's a TUI.
Personally, I use the Lounge.
It's the Lounge?
Yeah, web-based thing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought it was a bar down the street.
No,
yes, I was wondering where he was going with that.
You self-host it, and it runs it's basically a bouncer, sort of. It's a client that is perpetually running, essentially. And therefore I have all the history, all of that, and it's kind of useful when you're trying to actually get the context of conversation, which is why I dislike, because you drop into middle of some conversation, you have zero context. That's not how you can in any way join the conversation if you have zero context.
Oh, one thing I wanted to just briefly mention, going over some of the topics I've covered in the last month. I did a desktop environment tier list, and I did rank Gnome highly, which I think a lot of people are surprised, but I do think Gnome has improved a lot, especially over the last year. Since I
was working on it from the maintainer's perspective, yes, I could agree, because it's on one of my separate SSDs that I'm using it now to test because I haven't used it for a long periods of time. But as a maintainer, I understood more when people say when it comes to extensions, be careful what extensions you use, because you might be setting yourself for trouble. Because that I loved, that other users love, it's called iLure's widgets, but the guy mentions on his GitHub, I borrowed code from dash2dog, dash2panel, and everywhere. He didn't write a single line of code. It's just borrowed code. As a result, it's as broken as you can imagine. It either starts or doesn't start, or it brings down the shell. So as long as you use it the way it was intended, it's super stable. Me using KDE and being a KDE fanboy, I'm slowly leaning towards Gnome a little bit more now because of the stability it provides, especially for the stuff that I do on a daily.
Yeah, well, my problem with GNOME 3, for that whole 10 years GNOME 3 was a thing, was its stability was an issue, especially in the early days, but also the fact that it lacked a lot of basic functionality people wanted, so people depended on these extensions, and the extensions always broke. And now with GNOME 40, you could run GNOME without any extensions and be okay, where you really couldn't do that, especially with the early versions of GNOME 3.
To a certain extent, because still Nautilus is the bane of my existence.
It's not a good file manager. No, it's not.
Okay.
It's okay, but
compared
it's
to Dolphin, great.
It's very limited. It's very limited.
I don't know. Compared to Nemo, it's not great. Compared to Kaja, it's not great.
I would use Nebo any day on normal.
Yeah, sure. I would use Kaja every day, but sorry, compared to Dolphin.
What about compared to Lunar? Because
Dolphin is too rich to the gills. But Nautilus doesn't even have open as admin. It doesn't have.
Dolphin doesn't have that either.
Well, they removed it, and then they put it back in, didn't they?
No, they didn't. As far as I know,
they haven't put it back in yet. I thought they did.
No, as far as I know,
Dolphin. I know Nautilus hadn't yet.
No. The Dolphin they didn't add it officially back in. There's an official. Extension.
There's a hack. Okay, yeah, that doesn't count.
Semi-official extension that even the KDE developers talk about. But for Nautilus, I had to install not extensions, packages from the AUR called Nautilus Open as admin and Nautilus Open any terminal. I added.
That is weird
I was able to add the context menu. Alacrity is amazing. I just discovered it and I like it. But yeah, GNOME is much more usable today than it ever was.
Yeah.
GNOME is much more usable the last 3 years than it was before. Let's be clear. It's really good.
Well, today even more. I have 5 extensions. I have 5 extensions enabled and no issues whatsoever. Dash to dock, dash to panel, and the Arch update notifier, and one last thing. I forgot what it was. The Weather Underground extension to get the weather. But that's it.
Yeah.
As long as
I've just noticed that
extensions you use, it's going to function very well.
Yeah, and I just noticed that, like over especially the last 6 months or so, when I'm grabbing ISOs to check stuff out, especially stuff off camera, a lot of times I'll see what the latest Manjaro's doing or whatever, and I used to always just go get the XFCE version, or the KDE version, and now I'm interested in the GNOME version. Like, I don't want to see XFCE, that's old. I want to see what's new in GNOME, and I never cared before because GNOME just always kind of pissed me off. But now I find it quite comfy.
It's really comfy, and it's dragging windows between multiple monitors is smooth as silk. It's smooth as butter. Yeah. They're really working on the back end. For a short period of time, Mutter was causing issues in VMs, but they fixed that up after 2-3 weeks. It was done, fixed. But the only thing I didn't like about the GNOME is the developers sometimes can be assholes.
Well, you can't. There's nothing that can fix that, unfortunately.
Yeah. You tell them, there's an issue there. It's not meant to be used that way. Get off.
I've actually already recorded a video. I'm going to release it the day after tomorrow on Thursday. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about GNOME and how it's improved a little bit and why I think they've made some improvements. Some of it has to do with the team.
Yeah.
I'll just preview that. I don't want to spoil the video, but yeah, they've definitely it's gotten better.
For Zero Linux GNOME edition, I went as far to keep as close to vanilla GNOME as possible. I even did not choose to ship PAMAC with my edition. It's GNOME software, just plain old GNOME software for the GNOME purists out there. Of course, it doesn't support the AUR, but in the end, but you have PackSeek for that. There's a TUI that supports the AUR. You can use that. It's on Zero Linux. But as a mainline front end, it's GNOME software. It's as close to vanilla GNOME as possible. I don't theme it. I didn't theme it. I didn't do anything. I just used the custom wallpaper. That's it.
Well, and someone in the chat, Zero, was asking me, why don't you use OpenBSD? Mainly just because I'm a desktop computer user, and Linux is going to support a lot more hardware and software than any of the BSD operating systems. OpenBSD is a neat project, but I couldn't really use it for what I do. Not to mention, you know, I'm just used to a lot of, especially the GNU tools, a lot of GPL software that I use on a daily basis that typically the BSD operating systems don't ship. For example, the default shell in OpenBSD is not Bash. What is it? The Corn shell, KSH? I think. I could be wrong about that, but it's some horrible shell I would never use, right? And nobody wants to use it. I don't know. There's probably some OpenBSD users that love KSH, but probably all of them swap it out to
I think on BSD there's SH, which is like a
TCS
version of CSH.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I could be wrong on that, though.
It could be. That's the other one that I was thinking about. It could be TC SH. But both of them are horrible. Both of them are nothing like Bash as far as...
Yeah, what do you feel about the fish haters?
Features.
The fish haters out there.
The fish haters, a lot of them...
No bearing on the world, because the only real argument is that it isn't POSIX compliant. And
that's
reality
I don't get
about POSIX compliance, because POSIX is wrong about so many things.
The argument doesn't make sense to me, because a lot of them, well, I can't use fish because I do a lot with scripting. Well, heck, I script. But I don't script in Fish. I still write scripts in Bash like a normal person, but I can still use Fish as my interactive shell. It's very strange that people think that when you install Fish, all of a sudden you've got a script in Fish. No, I never script in Fish. I know a little bit to where if I wanted to do a simple little function in Fish without switching to Bash, I could at the command line. But if I'm actually writing a script, I'm just switching over to Bash and I'm doing everything in Bash.
Yeah,
write a proper script with a proper things at the top of it, and it will run in Bash, even though you have Fish as interactive shell.
And you know what's funny? So many people out there use ZSH as their interactive shell, but they never complain about ZSH and
POSIX compliant. Like that.
It's not really POSIX compliant either. It's not really.
Bash isn't either. So
but ZSH is more so not POSIX compliant than Bash. But nobody really. I don't know.
I just discovered on my Bash. I replaced ZSH with on my Bash. So stick to that, and you'll be happy. Which brings me to a subject. I don't know if it's cool to discuss, but 2023 will be me getting into window managers, and DT, since it's your area of expertise, there's a friend of mine on the server who recommended Awesome. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good one to start with, for sure.
But since it's written in Lua, some people complain about Lua and the.
I don't love Lua
like that.
Yeah, I don't love Lua because I'm just not that familiar with it.
I would personally start off with something like i3, or
that would be
good. Because
his argument is. But his argument is we shouldn't start where everybody starts. We need to be start with something.
Awesome is easy. Awesome is easy enough to get into, yet Awesome is so extremely customizable that it's also really deep. So it's a good balance of it's easy, and at the same time it can be really difficult too. It's just depending on. You set your level on essentially.
I tried Awesome, and I had quite a bit of a hard time configuring it. So I decided to just stick to...
because there's so many libraries, you have to read the documentation, and it is. It's deep. It can be.
The reason he suggested Awesome is because it's zero Linux. It's all about the eye candy. So he was like, eye candy, awesome. You can't go better than Awesome. If you want eye candy, but more easy, more friendly, you could go with i3 and i3 gas.
I'm gonna say it this way. As soon as your window manager or any program's configuration file is written in a programming language, there is something wrong with the configuration of the tool, in my opinion. So it's a programming language. You probably went wrong somewhere.
Well, I don't know, because I think every DWM user would disagree with that. Every Xmonad user would disagree with that. Every Qtile user.
Wrong.
Like the reason they're using those window managers is because it's written in a language these people know. So therefore they can do whatever they want with it. If it wasn't written,
it is something else than writing a configuration file, which should be written in not a programming language, but in a configuration language. It's something that is meant for configurations, not for programming. Sorry.
You don't think just patching things in C with the DWM is viable?
No.
I'm not going to say you're right or wrong on that. I'll just it's an interesting discussion to have, I guess.
As soon as you have C and writing something in C, then it's probably wrong because you're gonna have memory leaks left and right. Because
I don't mind having to write some code to extend something. I can say that I'm not a fan of having to run patches and recompiling. I'm not a fan of that, but I don't mind. Like the way Qtile does it, because it's Python, it's a scripting language. I just add some Python code to the config, restart Qtile with a key binding, and I'm done. Having to do the whole patch and recompile thing, that's a little clunky.
Have a proper configuration file, proper configuration language, not a programming language.
What is a proper? I see this. We'd have to get into this. What is a proper configuration language, Big Pod? Are you going to say C#? Is that where you're going with this?
But a programming language.
Toml, YAML.
No, don't do that. No.
Of that sort.
I hate those things. I hate
the custom. Just don't be almost incomplete.
I hate YAML. I hate YAML configuration files because of the damn spacing. Dark Zero, you mentioned Alacrity. The Alacrity config. You know how many times I've accidentally messed up my Alacrity config?
Yeah. Just by switching themes.
Use a proper text editor. It won't happen again.
Emacs is the ultimate text editor, by the way, and it still is a problem.
It is not unless when you press a tab, it does proper amount of spacing.
Yeah, I don't use tabs. I have all of my text editors where a tab is 4 spaces. It's just standard.
Alacrity, you press a tab and it will do 4 spaces. That's not a problem. All my code is spaces. I just don't press spaces 4 times. I press a tab once.
But with Alacrity, for example, for some reason it doesn't respect the font size that I give it. And when I'm switching themes, when I decide to switch a theme and I'm clicking on the down arrow because I have so many themes installed, at some point it will just crash and it will say the configuration file is no longer valid. I have to restore a previous one.
Yeah, that is the good thing about Alacrity is you do get the error message in the terminal. The terminal will still launch, but you get the little box saying, hey, your configuration is broken.
Yeah.
That's nice for letting me know.
I go hardcore. I use Notepad.
Yeah, Notepad.
Yeah, hardcore, man.
But I mean, I was with you on some of what you were saying, Big Pod. But when you mentioned YAML, I've got to just vehemently disagree with that.
I personally have a script that syncs my theme with the one that I have on Firewall. So every time I run Firewall, I also get my theme on the terminal.
Yeah, but I use YAML in my welcome tool for the applications for the application list that you can install. But other than that, I would have to agree with you, DT. YAML can be super problematic, especially for this. If you include one wrong space, the whole thing is gone.
It's really bad for long configuration files.
Yeah,
it's really.
I use YAML daily.
There's a linter.
I have no such problems.
There's a linter?
Yeah, there's a linter to check for
in Emacs.
Probably not in Emacs, but there's one on NeoVim.
I'm sure there's probably one in Emacs too. If NeoVim has it, because a lot of people will take one from the other and vice versa. So
if your text editor can't check if YAML is incorrect, if you don't have enough spaces, that's a problem. Sorry, and it's such a complex text editor like Emacs, and it can't check if YAML is correct.
Yeah, but sometimes you're not in the like when I'm in Emacs, things aren't a problem because I can always check that. Emacs will spit out an error in practically any language I'm in.
Yeah.
But what if I'm doing something at the terminal? What if I'm doing a quick sed substitution? Or what if I enter Nano for some reason because the distribution I installed didn't ship Vim out of the box like Ubuntu, and I had to use Nano?
Fun fact, 3/4 of the time that I edit YAMLs, I edit them in Nano, by the way, because I edit them on servers, and I just don't give a damn about connecting.
That's why I threw the Nano out there. That was a shot at you, Big
I open in Nano, change the configuration because Kubernetes uses YAML as its main configuration type. Docker Compose uses the same thing. So I use YAML all the time.
YAML. I just wanted to ask you guys, has anyone ever heard of a window manager called Rat Poison?
Yeah. It's very, very old. It was around at the beginning of time. It's very Emacs-like. So if you're not an Emacs user, you're not going to enjoy Rat Poison at all. And even as an Emacs user, I would not use Rat Poison. I would not use Rat Poison, and I use Emacs. Okay, let me just put that out there.
A guy literally made Emacs into a window manager. There's been like a talk on one of those tech talk, and he demonstrated how he was able to get Firefox and a bunch of other applications like his camera inside Emacs, and then just to use that as his window manager.
Yeah, there's a plugin for Emacs called EXWM for the Emacs X window manager. You can turn Emacs into a window manager where when you log in, you just log into a full screen Emacs, and you just manage your windows essentially as Emacs buffers, and it works fine. It's single threaded because Emacs is still single threaded. They haven't multi-threaded Emacs yet, so it could be. Well, they're working on it. It's on the bug tracker. They're eventually going to get that straightened out.
But the reason I asked is because one of my users just said, I just installed Rat Poison and DWM on top of Zero Linux. I'm like, Rat Poison and DWM.
JavaScript is then better than...
Yeah. There's two window managers that are kind of Emacs-like. They're written mainly for Emacs users. There's Rat Poison, and the other one is Stump WM. And I'm just telling you right now, avoid both of those.
Weird names. I'm getting a vibe of people being...
You are... like, yeah, I can just say 99% of the people watching this would absolutely hate those two window managers. Just don't even look at them.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Enlightenment?
Enlightenment's great.
Enlightenment, isn't it the one being used by Elementary OS?
No, it's the one used by Bodhi Linux.
By?
Bodhi Linux uses an Enlightenment fork. You know, they forked it, but it's Enlightenment's a window manager / desktop environment.
I remember it has a dock. It has a weird dock.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of the Unix system.
Yeah. Enlightenment is another. It's been around a long time, but it's a good window manager if you like standalone floating window managers.
Yeah. I used it once great. And then just stopped using it. I don't know why.
Eric from Arco Linux talked about it like a few months ago. He didn't give it more than 5 minutes, and he stopped talking about it.
It's a little different.
It's very different. It's like
because of the terminology they use to describe things, like what do they call them? Shelves and I don't know. Well, like they describe the panel and the widgets. They don't call them like a panel and widget. They call them different things. And when you're reading the documentation, it can be confusing. Like, what the hell are these guys talking about?
Yeah, I'm looking. The reason I opted I accepted to work on window managers. I have a vision in my head because I saw a setup on Unix porn where the guy transformed his window manager into what's it called, the Unix like Silicon Graphics operating system. Forgot the name of it, Unix, but I forgot the exact name of it. It was called something Oxygen OS back in the day, I think. with the thing that looks like a belt at the bottom, with the shelves and the drawers.
Okay.
You mean IRIX?
The drawers was the other thing I was thinking about with Enlightenment. Yeah, shelves and drawers. Yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
shelves and drawers and stuff like that. I saw it. I was like, I want to attempt that on Zero Linux, but how can I when it's a window manager? Okay, I'll have to go into a window manager, and that guy was using Awesome, so I was like, okay.
Yeah, Awesome has the ability. The panel is very customizable. You can even create your own widgets. Like how you would have like a Conky widget or something on the screen. You can actually write something in Lua instead of using Conky. You can write your own Lua widgets that would appear on your desktop.
That was one of my conditions. If I was going to use a window manager for Zero Linux, it has to use its own panel and its own dock, not a third-party one. Like I don't want the polybar. I don't want anything third-party. I want the thing to be complete as a whole.
Yeah, and you guys have probably noticed, like in my window managers, I've used so many. I've only used Polybar in like 2 window managers.
Yeah. Because
Polybar really, it was kind of designed really to be used with i3 and BSPWM, because BSPWM doesn't come with a panel, so that makes sense with BSPWM, but everything else comes with a panel. DWM comes with one, Qtile. Xmonad doesn't, but Xmobar might as well be the Xmonad panel. Awesome has a panel. They all have their own panels. Trying to shoehorn in this weird third-party panel that really wasn't written for this window manager usually is more of a headache than what it's worth. Because I see a lot of people trying to use Polybar with every window manager they install, and it doesn't make sense. No, and don't use it with a floating window manager. Polybar should not be used with OpenBox. Polybar doesn't even have a taskbar. Why would you install that thing and run it with a floating window manager?
I tried it with XFCE. It was a nightmare.
But because without a taskbar, you can't use it with a floating window manager, because you're going to want to click on the panel to unmaximize your windows, and that doesn't have that functionality.
No. By the way, recently Eric borrowed one of your configs.
Somebody had messaged me about that.
But what he called you was the thing that made us all laugh. Or called your DTOS. He called it DTOS. DTOS.
Well, you know what? A lot of people do pronounce it that way.
DTOS. I was like, Eric, DT. You wouldn't call it DTOS.
It doesn't matter.
It was funny. It's Eric being funny.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I probably should update the packages. Update the repos today. I don't think I've rebuilt the packages for a couple of weeks.
And he borrowed the config and he called it OSDT. He reversed it. Arco Linux OSDT.
What was he doing? I actually didn't check out the video. Like I said, somebody had let me know about it, but
he was borrowing he was working on a window manager for Wayland, I think, with Wayland in mind or something.
Well, there's not many that work with Wayland, unless he was working with Qtile. Qtile would be the one.
Yeah, but he's been on a Wayland craze lately. He's been working, and the weird thing is about Eric is he tells the people, if you want to use Sway or whatever, Hyperland or whatever, the ones he was talking about, if you have an Nvidia card, okay, you can use them, just don't install the Nvidia drivers. Okay, who would use the Nvidia drivers?
Don't do that. Especially if you bought an expensive Nvidia card.
So he should have said was, if you have an Nvidia card, just don't use them.
Just don't use Wayland. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to spend $800 on a graphics card and then not be able to install the proper driver for it, just so I can use
Wayland with Nvidia card.
It depends on what. Also.
Yeah, it's called WSL.
What?
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
But still.
But yeah, if he was checking out a window manager for Wayland, the only thing he could have grabbed from me would be Qtile, because that's the only one that supports Wayland.
Yeah, he must have gotten that one. But
and I don't use Qtile with Wayland. But
speaking of Nvidia, I just I was reading something the other day just by mistake. I was just browsing the internet. I fell on an article that mentions that the latest Nvidia drivers, the 525 drivers, they only have basic support for the 40 series. They haven't baked in full 40 series support into the Nvidia drivers for Linux. I didn't know that. I thought the latest Nvidia driver supported everything until the 40 series. Apparently not.
Well, I mean, apparently it's not even that great supported in Windows. I mean, the 40 series is turning into just a big pile of junk.
Yeah. I'm not using Windows. I'm not looking into Windows news much, but on the Linux front, I'm like, because I had a lot of users on my server mention, oh, I have a 4090. I shelled $1,600 or $1,700 for my 4090. It's not working on Zero Linux. I was like, it's not working on any Linux distribution for that matter, because the drivers don't support it.
A 4090, wow. They spent more. Yeah, they spent more on that graphics card than I spent on my car.
Also, that's strange that 4090 wouldn't work on Linux, because that's one that I would expect to work.
No, just basic support. You can get it. You can get a picture on your desktop, but full hardware acceleration is
that's strange to me, because that's kind of the graphics card that you would expect to work, because that's the graphics card businesses would buy.
Yeah.
No, a lot of businesses are getting more into AMD these days.
No, not actually. Actually, you know,
I hope so, but I don't know if that's true. But I wish they would.
Linus.
Uh-oh.
I had a video once made for a company, for a server company. They were running Epic CPUs with AMD graphic cards, full AMD systems.
Yes, it's nice that they are running them, but reality is what we see on the ground. That's the reality situation. And
I don't know. It was
most
a video for a company.
People I know all have Nvidia cards, because they are above and beyond.
Yeah, you're talking Nvidia Pro cards, like.
Oh yeah, guys.
I'm talking 3060.
Speaking of Nvidia,
4090s.
Have you guys clocked into the open source driver they have for Nvidia now?
I did.
Nvidia cards?
Yeah, I did, because I built them.
Yeah, that's quite. Oh,
honestly, I don't care about it.
I built them because I use the TKG, the TKG patched ones. I built once because I had I had this SSD laying around. It's a 120 gig SATA SSD. I just wanted to test them.
You said that's a 1.8 gig?
No, 128 gig.
Okay, I was about to say 1.8 gig. That's
not even a single chip.
Yeah. So I tried the open source patches.
He's frozen again.
Uh-oh.
Now, for those of you watching the YouTube stream, Dark Zero is running a Gnome today, so he could be a little buggy.
Yeah, no, it's my connection.
You froze a little bit. Yeah,
my connection is because they throttled at this time. But I ran Zuma. I don't know if any of you know Zuma, this puzzle game where you shoot colored balls to make
yeah.
I downloaded a native version, a Linux native version of Zuma. I was getting like 15 frames per second on that one, so I was like, yeah, I'm not using those.
I have had something weird happen, so I'll talk about it in a bit.
I mean,
it's concerning NVIDIA.
They say that they are still considered alpha quality.
Less than alpha.
Well, pretty much all of the NVIDIA stuff is considered alpha quality for the most part. None of it for Linux, not for Windows.
Compared to AMD, the last time I used AMD,
it should control
that thing wasn't alpha quality. It wasn't pre-alpha. That thing was pre-existence quality.
But
there's CPUs, they make great. GPUs, not so much.
Yeah, since I use the TKG patched versions, they already added the Linux 6.2 release candidate patches into all their NVIDIA drivers. I tried them. I was like, I didn't notice any difference except a lot of YouTube stuttering and anything related to hardware encoding it stutters a little bit and then continue for like a second and then continues regularly. But they are bleeding edge. When you use the TKG drivers, patch drivers, they're on the bleeding edge. They add patches every 24 hours. They add more and more patches, but more and more instability as a result. But I like bleeding edge. That's why I use this SSD to test everything.
Just quickly, I want to answer a question in the chat. AKM was asking, why use a window manager instead of a desktop environment? A desktop environment is a window manager with all the other stuff installed along with it, panels, menu systems, and notification systems.
KDE is a window manager. The window manager of KDE is called KWin. So,
correct. So when you install a window manager only, typically you're going to build your own desktop environment around it. You're going to pick the panel you want, if you want one, or a dock, or run launcher. Yeah, you build your own desktop environment instead of having one just given to you.
But what I love about a window manager, I tried building an ISO with a window manager only on it. The ISO was 1.2 gigs, 1.3 gigs versus a full desktop environment. Like
2.5 or whatever. With
2.5 to 3 gigs. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't give how much ISO is size. It could be 10 gigs. I wouldn't really care.
Yeah, but it really does speed up the installation time.
On my,
but in the end, window managers use like 50 to 60 megabytes of RAM versus desktop environments up to a gig. So window managers.
Until you actually build them up, then they use about the same.
Some people say there's a stigma around Linux that it works on potato laptops. Yes, it's true as long as you use a window manager. As long as
it depends on how you use it.
Advertise them for potato laptops anyway.
Yeah, it depends on how you use it. My Xmonad system probably cold boots close to a gig of RAM. Yeah. You know why? It's because I have a lot of background services that launch. I've got a lot of daemons running in the background. Emacs is always running on my system. It's not now. If I just booted into a plain Xmonad with nothing running, it wouldn't use any RAM. But when you start adding all the stuff you would use anyway on a desktop environment, it becomes
what users don't understand. Like we got Zero Linux KDE to on cold boot to use 500 megs of RAM, but people don't realize when you start customizing it and adding your stuff on top, those 500 megs will easily turn to a 1.5 gigs.
Yeah, just open a web browser. Just open a web browser. That's all you need to do.
On my work laptop, boots at 4 gigs.
Oh.
Thanks.
My computer idle with nothing open, just the window manager, whatever. It takes like 400 megs, something like that.
Yeah,
it's like
As soon as you open a web browser, your
honestly, I don't care how much RAM my desktop environment uses, as long as it's something sane, less than half. I don't really care.
Well, I mean, the more space you have, the more you can open, right? So
well, I have 32 gigs of RAM, so I need to use them.
Yeah. But like I always have my email client open in the sys tray. I always have the library protocol running. I always have the Emacs daemon running. I always have these things running. I've got 64 gigs of RAM, though. Why would I care if these things are using an extra 300 megs of my RAM by having them running all the time? Some people do care.
And those people need a sanity check.
Well, it depends on the machine you're running, I guess. Like, if I was running a Raspberry Pi,
sure,
I could understand. I really have to worry about what was running on that thing.
Raspberry Pi shouldn't be used as a desktop anyway.
Yeah, but people do. I've actually when I was without a home computer for a little while, I used a Raspberry Pi for my home computer for about 30-40 days or so.
Yeah, Raspberry Pis are pretty cool. So
yeah, I love playing with them. I've got 2 of them. I can't wait for the Pi 5 if we ever get it.
No, supply won't allow it.
Supply won't. It's over, huh? The Pi's dead.
I have a mystery for you. Okay.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Concerning Nvidia card, I have a 2070 Super for the Win 3 EVGA and with 8 gigs.
EVGA.
Hey, I know. I'm sad about that.
Me too.
I went and had a update, and I don't know exactly what it was. And when I was running Gnome, I would have to check the Nvidia control panel every time I rebooted, come out of sleep or whatever, to check the checkbox on forced pipeline. And with KDE, I don't have to do that anymore. That's one miracle. The other is I had this weird update, and then all of a sudden, this Xenorama checkbox showed up on my control panel, my Nvidia control panel. It was never there before. So I went ahead and checked it. Okay, I checked that box, and I went ahead and rebooted just for giggles. And I went into World of Warcraft, and now I get 503 frames per second in World of Warcraft.
503?
Yeah, wow. That's what I said. That's why I'm like...
Yeah, 2070 too, which is a good card, but damn, 500 frames per second is incredible.
Xenorama. I was wondering what Xenorama is.
It's an old school Xorg extension that allows you to have multi-monitors, especially for us window manager users back in the day. It was a big deal.
Oh.
But I know that ever since that, everything plays really great. Now, I should only get 60 frames per second on anything I run, since I'm running a TV that's only 60 hertz. It's only allowing me to run 60 hertz.
I was about to say, it probably. I bet it helps you with plugging those external monitors in that you love to plug in.
I think I know what that does. It disables VSync.
Okay.
Oh, it does? Okay. Well,
Maybe,
I mean,
probably.
Yeah.
I guess that's what you need, because when you have multiple monitors, VSync can be problematic on certain speeds.
Yeah.
Because if there is a mismatch, or even a tiny mismatch of 0.01 hertz, it can cause problems. So that's one thing it probably does. Yeah.
But I installed Doom Eternal, and it plays awesome. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Doom Eternal on my system, which is using a 1080, and I get around 100 and 110 frames per second on Ultra. And people don't believe me. I run it on Windows, I barely get 40. I run it on Linux because it's Vulkan. It runs.
Oh yeah, Vulkan can be quite good, depending on how well they made each what's called.
Yeah, but on Doom Eternal, oh my God, it's like Hipdad said, when you have the hardware, it will use it to every drop, and you will get performance you never got on Windows.
The audio, it's just total. I love it.
Yeah,
I haven't logged into my Steam account in forever. I should buy this Doom Eternal you guys are speaking of. If it's
you can get a whole package now.
I got it as a gift. And when I woke up and I saw, because I'm a Doom, Quake, and all these.
Yeah, I love those old Doom games and Halo and all the old school kind of game.
You can get Doom, all the Doom packages, all the Doom games, all the Quake 3 games. You can get total package for all of them for roughly around $50.
Yeah, I'm gonna
buy
right now because of the Christmas thing.
Great.
Yeah,
I should do that.
One soon, as soon as I get my Patreon payout. But dude, I'm such a fan, and I discovered a new Linux native game that's a first-person shooter that is old AF, but it's beautiful. It's so much better than Zonotic, in my opinion. It's called Red Eclipse. It's available as an app.
I know Red Eclipse.
It's so Tron-like.
I've played pretty much all the first-person shooters that are available as far as free and open source shooters. Yeah, Red Eclipse has been around for a while. It's a nice shooter. Some other good ones are Sauerbraten. If you've ever tried that one, that's a good one. Also try Alien Arena. Alien Arena's got some good graphics.
You made a video about Alien Arena. You made a
Tremulous is another good one.
We've got a ton of them. Still around? Is NextUS still around?
No, I think it's been forked again, and now it starts with an R instead of an N.
Oh, okay.
Rex Louise or something. Yeah. The last time I tried to play it. Yeah. Now, the Nexus guys had to fork it because the original maintainers were taking it and making it a proprietary game. So that's why they forked it originally. Yeah. Which always sucks when you take an open source project and you want to do something like make it proprietary. That's dirty.
I recently went on a Flatpak binge because I'm adding more and more Flatpaks to my post-install tool. I went to the game section. There's so many games as Flatpaks. Oh my god! A lot of them though are front ends for Quake, for example. You need the commercial files to get to play them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, those I skip. But the full on, like there's like a Return to Castle Wolfenstein based RPG game that doesn't require the commercial files.
There's a lot of that on Linux where you'll have like free and open source games, but then when you install them, you need like the proprietary assets from the game that you don't have. And it's like, well.
Yeah, but one of my favorite ones being that I discovered recently was, and don't hate on me for being late, but I just discovered Super Tux Card.
Dude!
When you say late, yeah, about 20 years late.
Yeah. I was playing that on Red Hat 3. Jeez.
You know, it's installed by default on most Linux distributions, right?
Hey, I've been using Linux for only 2.5 years. So.
Have you guys heard about Force Reboot?
Who?
Have you guys heard about this game? It's called Force Reboot. It's like a fast-paced FPS, right? And it also has some like roguelike elements. Like you have to clear a stage, right? And then you have to select like a power-up, but those power-ups may also have like a downgrade, right? Your vision, like you get a lower resolution when you miss a shot, for example.
There's another game. I think you, GT, made a video. No, it was Chris Titus Tech who made a video about. It's a Doom game where every enemy is a process running in the background on your actual system. Each enemy you kill, that means you killed the process on your actual system. So if you kill it, it's gonna kill the process on your main system.
That's nice until you finally kill PID1 and you.
Yeah.
Oh, great!
He crashed his whole system. Just
of course.
What's the name?
I forgot the name of it. It's on Chris Titus Tech YouTube. It was really hilarious.
It's probably called something like Suicide Shooter or something like that.
Process Killer. It's a
process killer.
Now that we entered the second hour of this chat, maybe we should look into any predictions.
Doom System Monitor.
Oh, yes. We should get into 2023 predictions because...
I have my own.
Yeah, because that's always fun.
I
actually went back and looked at some of the predictions I made for 2022, you know, at the end of last year. And, like, nothing I said was right. So I'm interested to be wrong again on everything this year.
Oh, I found it, guys. I found it.
What's it called?
PS Doom and G. Yeah.
So
I'll link to it in the YouTube chat as well for those of you on YouTube.
So my predictions are
number
one, ARM won't be any more popular on the desktop than it is. Or if it will be more popular, it will be negligible.
Well, you're really going out on a limb there. Something that's not very popular right now still won't be very popular. Thanks, Big Pie.
Number two, prices of cloud will go down.
That's interesting.
It's only logical because they want us to end up on the cloud.
No, I mean proper like enterprise cloud, like Azure and all that. And I have a
you're not talking about like the Apple crap and these things like that.
No.
Okay.
Enterprise cloud, VMs and all that. And I have a reason why. AMD EPYC CPUs.
Yes, I agree.
Those things will, the new ones, 96 core ones, will just make the prices go like
damn. Those are amazing.
Yeah.
What's your number tres?
Number three. This one is about me. So I'll probably just as much unreliable in making videos as I was this year.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you'd finally get that job at SpaceX.
No.
I have one prediction for 2023, and it's very simple. it won't be the Linux year.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I have a prediction. Temple OS will rise on everybody's computers.
What? The what will rise?
Temple OS.
No.
Or else at least ZilOS, which is a fork of it. I mean, it already has UEFI added to it.
You know what? I've got a test machine behind me. You guys can't see it. I've got a desktop computer or older computer that was gifted to me, and it was running Windows. I've already wiped it out a few times to test some different Linux distributions on. But I actually noticed on DistroWatch that the latest release of Haiku was out.
Yep.
And that this new release of Haiku actually supports Emacs, the GUI version of Emacs, which really transforms Haiku into something that could be usable on a daily basis at that point, because I could just launch Emacs and then... So I was actually thinking about trying Haiku on my test machine just for fun, because I think it's an interesting project.
I have a prediction number 4.
Oh, okay.
Nostradamus.
Linux distributions, most Linux distributions, will remain a rounding error when it comes to compared to Ubuntu.
Really?
Yeah, currently it's essentially everything other than Ubuntu is a rounding error when it comes to.
No.
Yes.
Kubuntu's better.
You can already see the rise of Arch coming.
Yeah, but it won't happen.
It won't happen. Actually, I'll say this. In some ways, Arch being more popular here in the last few years, I think it's caused more problems for Arch, because it does seem like they have a lot more work on their hands than what they have as far as a community around it to fix the problems.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that, especially that lately they've been making so many bad decisions.
And I think the rise of some of these distributions that depend on Arch, like Manjaro's got so many users. I don't know how many users Manjaro. It's a lot of users, though. And that just, again, more work for the Arch team. I know Manjaro maintains their own repos or whatever, but still, it's a lot of work on a team that's not that big.
Yeah. And I will see more problems for smaller distributions like myself as well.
Yeah.
So the only prediction I would make for myself, as far as I'm concerned, I might go Debian at some point, because
I've thought about that too.
Although they use older software, but if we need stability and we need
that was actually going to be my prediction for myself this year, is at some point I'm going to get frustrated enough with Arch and Arch-based distros that I may become a Debian stable user. I will if I switch it, Debian stable is what I would be looking at. I'm going back to just being that boring guy with those old crusty packages. I'm running a kernel from 3 years ago.
Well,
we can use newer kernels if you wanted to.
Are useful. You can run your packages without affecting your crap old system.
Yeah, but even if we're using Debian stable, we can still use bleeding edge.
Yeah, I mean, you could, and there's always backports available for certain things. I mean, you could, and now with snaps and Flatpaks and app images, like there's workarounds for the things you need. So it's not, it wouldn't be that bad. I think it would actually be a easier transition certainly than it would have been 5 years ago.
Yeah, if we're really looking for stability and enough support tickets, and we don't want to have a lot of support tickets because of upstream, we better go Debian stable, and that's call it a day. And at that point, though, it will be a little bit boring, because my server, for example, will be a desert. Nobody would be asking for anything. It will be nobody talking.
Yeah, it's boring when you run a sudo apt upgrade and it's like, 3 packages are updating. I haven't updated in 2 weeks, and this is all I've got. Where with Arch, it keeps you guessing. I ran a update on my computer at home last night. 738 packages was the update. No, I ran the update and rebooted, and it actually did reboot. I was shocked.
I did the exact same, and I had my Wi-Fi adapter break on me, and I still haven't figured that out. And it's making me. I started drinking. I feel like back in the day where your eyes stopped working.
Wow.
I had Pac-Man break on.
You won't.
Yeah, I had Pac-Man break on my home computer actually a couple of days ago. Oddly enough, it was throwing an error I had never gotten before. I don't know if you guys have ever. You go to run a Pac-Man SYU and you get this error GPGME.
Yes.
Error.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was like, because I've gotten a ton of errors on Pac-Man before. I've never seen that one.
It's the keys being offline, completely offline.
Right.
The key server being completely offline.
That's exactly what it was. I was like, there's no way this is something on my end. This has got to be something with the repos.
No, not the repos. Very simple explanation, because it happened to me so many times. I finally got to the bottom of it. A lot of Arch-based distros use the Ubuntu key server.
Key server, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Key server, and at random intervals, they never announce it. They don't say anything about it. At random intervals, the key servers are shut down and reboot and started from cold as a cold boot, and that takes like at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So whenever we're running an update during the cold boot process, we get that. Sometimes it takes longer. Once it took around 3 to 4 hours to get it, and of course it needs to propagate all across the globe. So it depends from area to area. But I was surprised, and not even Eric could get to the bottom of it. He was like, change server, and he.
Oh no, because I knew it was something that was not on my end, because I know the usual fixes for these kinds of problems. I start removing the Pac-Man cache. I start deleting all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing worked. Like every time I do anything with Pac-Man.
Reactionary steps the one takes. But I was surprised that even Eric, who runs into those kind of things most often, didn't even figure it out. I had to figure it out on my own after around an hour and a half of researching.
Yeah. I mean, I've probably run a Pac-Man SYU thousands of times over the years. And that's the first time I'd ever seen that error. Yeah, it was just such a weird error.
You want something weirder? With Pac-Man, related to Pac-Man?
Uh-oh. Gnome.
He's gone.
That was perfect timing.
To Gnome me is to love me.
We knew Gnome was going to crash eventually.
There is a reason I plan to not go from immutable OSs.
Yeah, but when you run a Pac-Man -SYU, it says Pac-Man command not found.
I wonder if you uninstall Pac-Man, how would you get it installed back without the package manager?
I mean, you can just drag and drop the binary.
Well, you would basically have to
get a binary from somewhere else, and then you're fine.
Yeah, or that. I would have trued it with a USB image and installed it with Packstrap.
Yeah. I wonder if you could still use something like Paru. No, they all depend on Pac-Man. You probably couldn't even get them to install. Yep.
You have to install it manually. Get the archive and extract it and install it manually. Yeah. But still, Pac-Man dying completely on that user, I was like, how does Pac-Man die?
Yeah, but like I said, it keeps you on your toes, running a rolling release.
Yeah,
I tell you, I don't know. I want to switch to Deepin probably.
Could hear create snapshots before every update.
No, I don't.
I don't have to.
Go on.
My operating system doesn't.
I don't create No. I don't create snapshots. I don't use ButterFS. I hate ButterFS for some reason. I don't know.
But you could still use something like TimeShift with Extend4.
I create manual backups.
Yeah.
I use Gentoo, so it's pretty much a requirement for me to set that up.
Yeah.
It's funny because
every time I update, I just...
When I install distributions like Linux Mint, for example, like doing a video, I'll show people, hey, here's the backup tool, here's TimeShift, here's how you kind of could use it. I run through that first snapshot on camera. I have never installed TimeShift on a single machine of mine. And I know I probably should,
for me.
But I just don't do it.
So I don't use it anymore. I've been trying Lucky Backup.
I just use.
By the way, speaking of rolling releases and bleeding edge, inadvertently Eric discovered a fix for grub malloc error, malallocation error. He made a video about it, but he inadvertently figured out a fix for another issue. Me and him, we are two of few people who have this swappable SSD drive bay, where we click a button, it ejects the SSD, and we put in another SSD, test another distro or another version of our distro and whatnot. Recently, with the latest Grub release, every time you swap drives, it puts Grub in a memory where it gets deleted if you swap drives. So Grub gets deleted every time we swap drive. We have to chroot and reinstall Grub. But with this fix that he found for malloc, it's called -- removable flag. When you add that while installing Grub to your SSDs, if you swap drives very often, it will fix that issue right up. You can swap drives to your heart's content. It will never get deleted.
Yeah, because I have a 6-bay IC dot. I haven't swapped the drives lately, but I'm glad you mentioned that because that would affect me if I.
Yeah. So all you have to do is grub -install - removable, and that's it. It will put it on permanent memory rather than volatile memory. So I discovered this on my own. I had to test it because I swap drives like Eric, and I always had to reinstall Grub at every swap. So now I'm happy. So I'm gonna include it in a thread on my forum. But yay! Finally, no more reinstalling Grub. But yeah, I might switch to Debian at some point because Arch has been a pain in the tush running it lately. I'm done. I'm really done.
I really do
feel the same sentiment though.
Yeah, I'm really serious though.
Have you tried Gentoo?
I did.
Have I tried Gentoo? No, that's too much.
It's been a nightmare.
I mean,
I have too many packages installed.
For me, Gentoo just stopped me from distro hopping. It's literally the only thing I use right now.
Yeah, well, it would stop me from doing a lot of things because my machine would be compiling constantly because I have way too much stuff installed. I can't do a source-based distro.
I'd probably go back to CPM80 if I use Gentoo.
Yeah, I'm currently reinstalling everything on Gnome so I can mirror.
I have
like
only
install
12 threads at 3.2 gigahertz. I don't know how people install Gentoo on Raspberry Pi though. Those guys are insane.
Well, it takes them about a week.
No, they're not as insane as the people who installed LFS ARM on ARM.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
No.
No, there is a guy on my server who did it. So yeah, it can be done, but you have to. I think you start it when you're young, and then you finish it when you're a teenager. On the Raspberry Pi. So yeah.
Nowadays, I basically can't live without Fedora Silverglue.
Oh come on, Big Pod.
Oh, it's the best. But one of its amazing features is I essentially point it to a OCI container image, and it rebases itself based on that, and it has all my packages, everything inside, all my configurations. It's all just set up for me.
Yeah, but it doesn't work on my machine.
Really?
Oh. That's the issue. And
I'm sad for you.
I'm going back to Debian. Seriously, I'm done.
Listen, Stefan. It's the sticking to Arch right now. The way it stands, you're gonna be spending more time researching fixes for issues than you'll be doing using the actual.
Well, I didn't have it in the last year, but in the last 2 or 3 months, it's been annoying.
No, trust me. There's a lot of weird things happening, especially a lot of my users. They keep reporting, I got stutters. I got this not working. It was working yesterday, but after an update, it stopped working. It's constantly like that. It's the circle of the Arch Linux life.
Yeah.
So one moment it's working, the next it's dead, no explanation.
Stefan,
and I've thought about switching. I thought about switching all my machines to Nix too, but I know Nix would probably frustrate me because it's got some neat stuff to it, but it's also got some peculiarities to it that
I got it running, but as soon as you need multimedia support and
that's why I haven't made the switch.
Running on my desktop, Nvidia graphics, everything.
I never had issues with Nvidia as long as I don't use Wayland. But as long as I stick to
Nvidia works on Wayland as well.
Well, mine doesn't. I keep getting this thrown back to the SDDM login screen every time. So I'm not going to add the DRM flags to Grub boot. I'm not into that. I don't want to add anything to Grub just because I want to use Wayland. I know Wayland, it's usable on Nvidia, but to a certain degree. There's always places you're going to hit instability, not instability. I mean a hiccup with an app. It's not because Wayland is not ready. It's because the apps themselves have not been updated to support Wayland correctly.
Neither are right. Wayland isn't ready, and
we'll know when Wayland is officially ready. It'll be really easy to spot because there are certain distributions that'll let you know when you finally get a Debian stable release that ships Wayland default. That's when you know.
Yeah.
Fedora shipping Wayland doesn't count. SUSE shipping Wayland doesn't count. When Debian ships Wayland,
when SUSE it's kind of ready. The question is, do you think Pipewire is ready? Because Pipewire definitely ready.
Oh yeah.
Pipewire has been for not very long, but it has been.
It's different with Pipewire though, because Pulse Audio wasn't that great to begin with, so it's not like you were. It's different with Xorg and Wayland because you're swapping something that does work with something that doesn't.
That doesn't work. Yep.
It's different when you're swapping something that doesn't work with another something that doesn't work. You know, it's not.
With something that does work.
Me, Pipewire is way better than
yes,
Pulse
it is.
Audio. I also like the routing of applications and devices that you can do. So, for example, I don't know, maybe you're in a call and want to share your desktop audio, right? You can just drag the audio of the application to the WebRTC input.
What do you use?
I use Pipewire, and then I use Helvum for the patch bay.
I use Helvum. Okay.
Yeah. For patch bay, yeah. It's great for that.
But I get a lot of users asking me, is Pipewire compatible with my audio interface? For example, they have an audio interface that
if it
I'm
works,
like, I don't know the hardware, so you have to try.
Works on almost any hardware.
It should, yeah. I can imagine
because it actually it wouldn't work with anything if it didn't have enough. You have a separate part that is essentially emulating Pulse Audio, and it's doing better job at that than Pulse Audio does.
Yeah.
I mean, I still get some random.
Otherwise, no programs would work. It actually is emulating Jack and Pulse Audio.
Some legacy hardware are still having this white noise issue with Pipewire. I cannot explain it, but
it's not white noise. It's just that it's
static. They call it static. Whatever.
It's
static hum, yeah.
From when there is
but that maybe connections, cables.
Yeah, that could be a lot of things.
That especially when they
maybe from the entire chain of devices.
Especially
like audio is.
Bluetooth. Especially when they're using Bluetooth headsets.
Yeah, if there's any other kind, there may be interference and stuff.
Yeah, Bluetooth devices are always a problem because you're going to have latency issues, and Bluetooth audio is never good.
Well, there is one case. There are certain protocols of Bluetooth being compatible with like Studio 69 kilohertz audio, but it's
you have to find those, and they're expensive.
Exactly, and those are all proprietary. Standard Bluetooth is just basic crapola for audio. I'm sorry for my French.
I'm using Bluetooth right now.
I did want to briefly mention, I tried a few different distribution releases out this past month. I'm sure you guys did. I mean, there were several big releases, and I really love the new Deepin release. Maybe I should switch to Deepin because I know people. Every time I take a look at Deepin and I'm impressed with it, I get flooded in the comments. How can you like a Chinese distribution? No, hey, it's nice. I've actually installed Deepin on physical hardware many times over the years on like friends' machines, family members' machines, and it works. Like it's really a good distribution based on Debian stable, so it should be rock solid from that point of view.
It's Qt based. That's
it's a Qt based desktop environment, the Deepin desktop environment.
Yeah, but the only thing I have against it is it's a little bit heavy. It's a little bit.
It is with the animations and blurring ticked on.
Yeah,
it's going to,
especially when you run it in a VM, you feel it.
Well, in a VM you'll feel it, but even on physical hardware, if it's a 10-year-old machine, you'll feel it. But if it's something reasonably decent, it doesn't have to be a great machine, but if you got something made within the last 5-6 years, it's fine.
Yeah, and
it can't be a potato. The problem with Dark Zero is you got so many people that run potatoes.
Yeah.
They couldn't run Deepin. It would crash their machine, especially the blurring effects. Uses so much CPU.
With a single core, it will probably not work.
I like
Deepin is just
like if you had a Celeron processor, there's no way.
I think Deepin is
39 Celeron Pentium 4.
That may be coming from stuff like Windows, right, or Mac. I think that's the goal of Deepin, to be able to match the requirements of pretty much everyone and to be easy to use for newbies.
And that's a reasonable use case in my opinion.
I like the way it detects that it's in a virtual machine and it pops up with this message. You are in a virtual machine. Don't expect it to expect slowdowns and stuff like that. I really like it, but it's excessive use of space and so many partitions. That's weird.
Yes, the 64 gig partition scheme, a minimum 64 gigs, because they have this weird. They have 6 different partitions, which seems a little bit overkill. You're right.
Well, but other than that, it's amazing.
It says that the minimum is 25 gigs.
When you install it in a VM, the installer will not run unless you give it 64 gigs at least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
you probably could go in and manually partition it and make it work, but when doing the automatic installer, it will not, unless you set the VM for 64 gigs or better, it will not run at all.
Is there any SSD out there without 64 gigs? I mean, that's been standard in 2012.
Yeah, but a lot of people test operating systems in VMs is the problem. That's the only thing. Is they
what's the problem of giving it an expanding
I think FreeBSD does something similar where it has like a ton of partitions. I don't really understand why, but it doesn't have that requirement. It can automatically. I don't know why they don't adjust to how much this space there is already and just do the partitioning based on that.
You know, one thing I wish, I guess they all kind of do, because you could always partition your drive yourself with something like fdisk or whatever, but I wish some of these distributions would just have the ability to toggle on and off certain partitions. Like if I want that separate home partition, let me toggle it on or off. Or if I want a separate,
partitioning exists.
Yeah, but I mean, they could still make it user-friendly.
Hey, installer developers, if you are on the stream, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh wow. But what can I say?
Yeah, I would expect Dark Zero to like Deepin being a Qt-based desktop environment.
It's a Qt base and it's beautiful. The only thing
I love the file manager. The file manager just looks amazing.
Yeah,
the way they have it set up.
Amazing. Just the store front end is just needs something. It leaves something to be desired.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're right about that.
Yeah, but other than that, it's really good. It's really, really, really good. You cannot customize it much more than what they offer. You cannot use themes from let's say if you install themes, you cannot theme it.
You can't use like your Qt theming.
The Qt theming is different. Their theming, their back end is completely different. So,
but to be honest, the theming on Linux all Qt theming and GTK theming is a mess.
No, Qt theming is a little bit better than GTK, especially when we're talking libet Vita today. Just
theming is a
for a whole other day.
Nah, I would have to disagree. I think all of it is really clunky and messy.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that libet Vita is way more messy than GTK, and libet Vita is way more messy than Qt. But since on KDE, the only thing that makes theming on KDE, for example, a mess is because there's a lot of people who use cross-platform applications. Like they use GTK on Qt and they use other stuff on Qt. They mix and match. So of course you're going to end up with a mess.
Of course, there should be no problem using different.
Like the reason that's the reason why I stick to using Layen theme with Zero Linux, because the Layen theme is one of the most, if not the most, complete theme I have ever used. It themes GTK 3, and they're working on GTK 4 support, but it themes GTK 2, GTK 3, Qt, everything. It themes everything, and when I apply the Flatpak workaround, it even themes all the Flatpaks. So it's really great. This theme is amazing. I won't move away from it until it completely breaks.
In my opinion, we should be using more, or application creators should have their own individual theming inside the application. So
or support all theming methods. So when developers create theme developers create themes, they're supported by all the apps. It requires both. It's like they say, it needs requires two to tango. So they need to talk to each other instead of each one doing their thing and expecting it to work out of the box.
Reality is, it isn't just two. There are more UI frameworks. These two are just most popular.
If everybody switched to Electron, this whole process, I mean, we could fix a lot of things.
Yeah, that's what a lot of applications these days, if they're related to the internet, like chat clients or whatever.
Well, everything should be on the cloud. You just open a browser and you get everything, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing with Perdium.
Now that's a joke for those of you in the YouTube chat. I know I'm going to start getting some hate comments. Oh, he can't be serious.
But Perdium, this is what I use. I use Perdium. All my chat clients, a lot of web tools like nodes, encrypted nodes, and stuff like that are all open in Perdium. So once you enable the patch on Perdium itself, it applies to everything you open in it. So,
yeah, I'm actually running an Electron app right now, since Jitsi is the desktop app is a Electron
app. There's only one thing annoying about Jitsi Electron app. You cannot right-click picture and select picture in picture. You can only right-click and you get inspect element.
Inspect element. Yep.
Yeah. Because I use it on my podcast every week, but the only thing I hate about Jitsi, it's very, very temperamental when it comes to bandwidth saving.
I'm sitting here looking at Distro Watch, trying to remember what all was released this month. I think the biggest distribution that was released in the last month was obviously the NetBSD beta that came out. No, I'm just kidding. Linux Mint 21.1 came out.
And Zero Linux is high on the list now.
Yep. I saw.
I
saw that.
It was in the FOSS top 10.
Distros for 2023, yeah.
Matter of fact,
I was number two.
Yeah.
Those listicles mean nothing and should.
No listicles.
They mean nothing, but it's good to know that somebody is.
People read them whether they mean something or not. Yeah, I mean, the point is, all press is good press.
They shouldn't read them.
Speaking.
That's why after the stream is over, GT, I want to talk to you.
All right.
Speaking about Mint, I was trying to find a good program to make live boot USBs, and everything I try to NetBootin, Rufus I can't use because I don't own any Windows machines. Other suggested.
Ventoy?
Well, no, Mint Stick. Mint Stick is boom, 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 fast, no matter what ISO you use.
You can use GNOME disks to do that. I use that from time to time.
The best Electron app is Etcher.
Yeah,
Etcher, I couldn't get Etcher to work. Etcher wouldn't work in any.
DT. Etcher, the latest few updates of Etcher, you have to set it to run as root for the app to just launch.
Yeah, I couldn't get it to launch.
Yeah,
I do have to preface that I don't have Etcher installed as a Arch package. I'm using the app image.
Oh, the app image. So yeah, that one would.
Yeah, I don't think you can get Rufus in.
No, but
Linux.
You could use Lollipop.
No.
There's one called Lollipop. It's amazing. You can create multiple USB sticks in one go.
I personally still boot Win. Even if I just run Linux, I have one laptop, my old laptop, that I boot into. It has a partition for Windows, just for Rufus.
Just for Rufus.
Yes, I used to love NetBooting. It used to work great.
Rufus, as Big Pod calls it, Rufus means part, but Rufart does have a beautiful option that allows you to bypass with Windows 11 to bypass all the requirements to VM and stuff.
The problem with NetBooting, at least it was when I used it years ago, was it was known there were bugs with it where if you were burning a Debian or an Ubuntu-based distribution, it works just fine, but on a lot of other distributions,
it didn't like ISOs very well.
Yes.
The same thing can be said about Ventoy. I just updated Ventoy the other day to 1.86 or whatever it was called, with the latest version of, let's say, Endeavor OS, where they use Dracut and they completely changed the way their system works. When you try to boot Endeavor OS, it just refuses to boot. Whatever you select, even if you select the boot in grub 2 mode or boot in normal mode, does the same thing. With Zero Linux, now it works. Before, when I was using System D, it wouldn't boot. It would, for a lot of people, it wouldn't boot. So Ventoy is, I don't know what's happening with them, but the only 100% safe way I could recommend people to create a USB is use GNOME disks. It's 100%.
And people are going to ask, hey, why don't you just use DD? I'm just going to go ahead and preface that.
People have to remember. That's a whole
you can actually, there are a lot of ways at the command line to write an ISO file to a disk, but know that
people remembering the command.
And it's also dangerous because if you have multiple drives in a machine, it's very easy to mistype.
Yeah.
It's not that you did it on purpose, but it's very easy to write to SDB instead of SDA, for example.
I remember I only once used DD to make a USB. It was because I had a USB that, for someone else it was. We were trying to install some operating system on his laptop. And he didn't want to boot or install, so we tried Rufus, we tried everything. And then I was like, what else remains? Let's try DD. And
one of the things I love about Etcher is you can't write to a hard drive. Yeah. Etcher won't write to a hard. It will only write to a detachable USB device. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about accidentally overwriting your NVMe drive or whatever.
Yeah, but I recommend for users to use GNOME disks. GNOME disks also does the same thing. It only can write to external drives, and it just works. And it's GNOME disks in the end, so it's 100% fail-safe. I did it multiple times, and I was able to rescue one of my USBs using GNOME disks. I wasn't able to write any image using any tool to it, but when I used GNOME disks, it worked. It had bad sectors, but it was able to put those few bad sectors at the end of the thing and write the image.
I was laughing at the chat here in the Jitsi chat. Somebody wrote DD, the disk destroyer. Yeah, that's one name for it. Another one is DD, the data deleter.
Data deleter.
One one thing I can think of I used GNOME disks for is to make SD cards for
You can do that.
Raspberry Pis. That's what I
Yeah,
use them. First to
this is
first to make
how
an
I
image
started.
file of one and then make 10 of them.
Yeah, that's what I used to do as well on my Raspberry Pi 4 before it became my Bitwarden data password storage. Now it's running an SSD in. Well, not now.
I have a Raspberry Pi 3. I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
it's just gathering dust.
Oh, where is
my table?
Where are you? Where are you? Oh, I'll show you mine. Mine, if you show me yours. Yeah.
Well, this took a turn.
Yeah. This is my Raspberry Pi.
Oh, so you made
nice.
it in
No.
You made it into like one of those
Nintendo, yeah, that's a Nintendo.
Like a RetroPie?
Yeah.
RetroPie on it?
Yeah, I don't have RetroPie on it. It's now off, as you can see, because I connected at the shop. But it's my it's currently my Bitwarden storage machine.
Oh,
you got clinky parts in it though. That's scary.
No, it's the SD card.
Fine.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry.
Then he sees the blue smoke of death.
It's my SD card. It was inside. Like I keep my SD card safe.
Yeah, but does it have Super Mario Brothers on it, the original one?
Yeah, I used to. Yeah, I used to have 21,000 ROMs on it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was on a 2 terabyte mechanical drive in this cartridge thing. But right now, it just has an SD card in it, and I just run my Bitwarden on it.
One of my nieces did that with the RetroPie. Had all the old Atari games. Like the old, that was great.
For the Steam Deck, but someone released a Batocera 1 terabyte image with 22,000 ROMs on it, from PlayStation, from the old stuff to the Xbox 360, Xbox One, PlayStation 2, 3. For the Steam Deck, you just boot into it, and you got 22,000 ROMs on it immediately that you can play at your disposal.
Steam Deck is nice for that.
I want one so bad. I
actually was in the line, but I said no. I got the note, and I pressed no thanks.
Yeah. Well, if it comes here to Lebanon, I'm on board. I'm on board.
I just don't game enough for it to make sense for me to spend the money on
it. Nobody's gonna play 22,000 titles, but it's good to have something laying around when you're like, for example.
You know.
What am I gonna sit to do? The Steam Deck is gonna be amazing for those situations. So it's I need that. I need that bad.
For me, it didn't make sense.
Yeah, but for our situation, it makes a lot of sense.
One quick thing I wanted to ask Big Pod, since we're getting close to the end here. I made that video the other day about, Snap users often asking me about loop devices and stuff like that. Big Pod, is there a reason that they chose to mount those things as loop devices? I mean, what's the rationale behind it? Obviously, it is a way to sandbox some things, but obviously other containers don't do that. So why did Snaps choose to go that route?
The way, because I don't know, containerized, the way the file system is containerized specifically, it's using SquashFS. Using SquashFS, and SquashFS is essentially a file that can be mounted on a drive.
Kind of like you mount an ISO. Yeah. Okay, I see.
It's a SquashFS file system essentially. Each one is a SquashFS file system, so they mount them as a loop device, which is how they mount.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
It does, and I've got no problem with it. Like, I've never thought, well, that's a stupid way to do things. But so many people in the comments.
No,
like, why do they do it that way? And I was like, well, why does it matter?
Exactly. Why does it matter? And I like the fact that they do it that way. You can, if you think that an app is using too many resources, just eject it and you're done. And it's better than having to kill an app with xkill or kill all or whatever. Just eject the damn thing and you're done.
Yeah, just unmount it and it'll never run again.
Yeah.
Until you start it up again.
Yeah,
by the way, speaking of app images, I recently downloaded Red Eclipse, the game, as an app image. Because I could right-click and download with a download manager.
I wonder if I've got it as an app image, because I think I do have it. I'm not sure if I've got it
It's around 900 megs or 1.4 gigs. I remember.
I've got a lot of games as app images.
But I'm mentioning it because
I do. I have Red Eclipse as an app image. I thought I did.
Yeah, 1.4 gigs. And since my connection is so bad, as you might have realized, I use a download manager where I can pause and resume the download. GitHub doesn't allow that, that's for sure. But I downloaded it as an app image. When I tried to install it, the app image manager app that exists on the AUR, it implemented it into the applications folder in my home directory. And now when I right-click the app image in the menu, in the app menu, I get offered now an option to update the app.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, they updated the app image manager. Now it includes an update option in the context menu. I was like, cool. Yeah. They should all do that.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And now I agree with you more and more, GT, with that app images are amazing where they're completely independent from your package manager. You choose when to update them if you want to update them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the way Snaps and Flatpaks do automatically updating. I mean, you can turn the updates off, but I think that's a good thing for some things. But there are a lot of things that I never want to update. And app images just make sense for that stuff.
Yeah, especially like OBS, for example. You mentioned
most people auto updates make more sense than not updates.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. I mean, app images obviously can update.
Yeah, but doing automatic updates makes sense for a lot of users because they don't.
And to be fair, a lot of app images you install, they can't. The developer can choose to have those things update. Yeah. Some of them don't, though.
CurseForge does for updating add-ons for WoW. Yeah, it automatically updates.
Yeah.
Like Kdenlive, if I got the Kdenlive app image, I don't want that thing to ever update.
Exactly.
Right.
Until I want it to update. I don't want it to update without me knowing about it.
Now more and more, I am starting to see your point of view when it comes to app images. They have their purpose and they are amazing at it, basically.
Well, they realize that in a lot of ways, Mac OS kind of gets it right with the way they handle files.
So Mac OS-y. Except me on Mac OS, I have an app called App Updater. I paid for it, $14. But it's an app that scans your system for all the installed apps, and it tells you there's an update for this app, there's an update for this app, but it doesn't automatically update them. You choose what to update, when to update. You can even tell it to completely ignore the app. No. So I wish such a thing existed for app images. It would be great to know which app image has an update and gives me the full control if I want to update, when I want to update, or set to ignore. I'm looking forward to that. It will come at some point, but it's very slow.
Now, I did run into a problem the other day with my LibreOffice Snap, and this might be a problem also in a Flatpak or an app image, because I've had LibreOffice as an app image as well. I hadn't checked this to see if it's still a bug in it. But using some of the third-party plugins like spell checkers sometimes can be a problem in these containers.
Yeah.
So
in
that's kind of annoying.
There might be issues.
It's going to be a problem probably in all of them, and that's the one downside. I understand people that complain that, oh, the theming's off, or I need access to this on the file system, and this container doesn't have access to it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
but that's not something Grandma's going to do, Big Pod.
Yeah, Grandma won't use plugins. That's also true.
That's true. She's probably not using spell check.
No, I will say one thing. If I was configuring a computer for a non-tech savvy person, I would go app image on them. Whereas 100% of the time they'll be using whatever version I gave them. because app images are update safe. I call them the update safe package manager.
Well, it sounds more and more like you and the maintainer of Nitrix need to get together because he's doing a Debian-based distro with app images.
Yeah, I would. This would be an amazing kind of distro for non-tech savvy people. You just give them what you give them. They stick on that. They won't update the by mistake.
No. Normal people should have automatic updates because security.
Well,
Sorry.
for me, I don't care.
Well, I think some things should automatically update. You're right, for security purposes.
That for most people, everything should update
I think
automatically.
that as things for updating, only like userland stuff should be updated in the background.
Yes.
But stuff like kernels or
even that.
Yeah, the kernel should definitely.
Then
the kernel should always be patched for security.
Technology that if kernel doesn't boot, it just crash and boot previous one automatically. I don't know why we don't have that. Server software and IoT already have that implemented. Just desktop doesn't for some weird reason.
I love rebooting and getting the grub prompt. That's my favorite thing in Linux.
I just do chaos when I update my kernel.
Or even worse, you just get the panic, the kernel panic. That's what.
But at least NixOS get it right.
Reboot and previous kernel boots. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It shows the kernel panic. Reboot old kernel. The end of story. That's how
exactly.
those things work. That's how it should work on desktop. I don't know why we don't have that.
Yeah. No, we'll get there.
We do. We do.
I think you're going to see a lot more going the Nix way, the Geeks way, where you can roll back to your previous working states. That's coming. That's coming to everybody. Ubuntu, Arch, it's all. They're all going to go that route eventually.
Arch has to do it first because it's the one that crushes the most.
That needs it the most.
That's why I use Fedora Silverblade. Fedora Silverblade best at that.
The problem with Arch is you'd have a problem rolling back to a working generation because so many of them will be broken.
That is true. That's becoming more true today than it has ever been. And did you guys notice that for 3 months straight, Arch ISO hasn't had an update for 3 months straight?
I think they switched instead of. Are they doing quarterly instead of the monthly now? Or,
I don't remember.
I can't remember if they switched that or not. They may have got tired of building a monthly ISO.
So you get everything fixed in Arch from the last update, get it running again, and get comfortable in it. It's working great, and then
boom! After 3 months,
boom! You're gone again. Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun.
3 month lifespan of ISO for Arch install.
That's why Zero Linux went quarterly. Zero Linux now is doing quarterly because we're sick of releasing something just around the corner where the Arch breaks. We release now every quarter after the thing breaks and people discover fixes and post about how to fix things. We apply those fixes, then release.
Well, let's everybody take a minute and give us a final word here. We're coming up on the end of the 2 hours. Big Pod, you got any wise words you want to share with the YouTube audience?
Linux should start going towards immutable.
Well,
that's simple reality.
Well, I think that would actually have been a good prediction for you for 2023, but you used up all your predictions.
Problem is that I know that won't happen because Linux users are too stubbornly. I won't say what I think of them.
Wow, shots fired on Christmas. Well, that was a couple of days after Christmas, but. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Big Pod. Yep, Dad. Are you there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we got you.
I have one prediction, and this I don't know. This is really if it comes off, I'll be wonderfully happy. Fortnite will be playable in Linux before half of the year.
What happened?
Wow. Yeah, that's a big prediction. I like that, though. I like that he's going out there on a limb. See, that's a real prediction. That's not one of those safe.
Apex Legends is playable on Linux.
So is this all the anti-cheat stuff that's still holding us back on? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you're right on that, because I think that will definitely solve. Again, I know sometimes it's specific games. It's not just gaming on Linux that prevents people from switching. It's they only play one game, and there's a lot of people like the one game they play is Fortnite, and if it doesn't work on Linux, I can't use Linux. So
Overwatch is playable on Linux too.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Hip Dad, and Dark Zero. Give us the last word.
It will never ever be the year of Linux. Not next year, not the year after that, not the year after that.
Years of Linux have passed, just not years of Linux desktop.
Unless, I wanted to say, unless we all unite and we stop the hate.
Again, a question.
Christmas and Merry New Year.
Again, a question for you. You really think that there is no year of Linux? What you probably mean is Linux desktop.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be the year of the Steam Deck is what it's going to be.
Yeah, Linux desktop. That's what I meant. Thank you for the correction, Big Pod. That was a good one.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being with us. I know it's a little weird, too, on a Tuesday instead of a Sunday, but Sunday was Christmas. I didn't want to do a Sunday time.
Anyway, I would have been too drunk to be...
yeah. Well, I would have been sleeping late, and there's no way I would have got up this early. Slindy, give us the last word.
Well... I have a prediction. Vim will replace all init systems.
What? Vim init systems?
Yep. It's already been done. Someone already uses Vim as their init system.
You got my gears. You got my gears going.
I could understand Emacs being an init system, but Vim, that's a strange one.
Yeah. Gears going.
Yeah. Well, we'll write it down and see if it happens. It's got just as good a chance as any of Big Pod's predictions, I guess.
True.
So. All right. M3THOS. I don't know what name that was supposed to be.
Mythos.
Mythos. Are you there? Would you like to give us a last word? May not be available on microphone. Let's get Stefan a last word then.
Well, I gotta try and keep fixing my Ethernet drivers. This will be a pleasant experience, and I hope you all guys have none of these pleasant experiences in the next upcoming months. And yeah, let's see what happens. On the other hand side, be nice to each other, and yeah, try to donate some cash to open source projects.
Good idea. Yeah, donate to your favorite projects.
As a side note, I just wanted to say, wish Stefan. I don't know if you celebrated. Today is Saint Stephanos Day. So.
Oh yeah, it's our name's Patrons Day, but
name's Patrons Day. Both of us.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
cheers, guys. Thanks anyway.
Yeah, I'm about to say, go have a drink. All right. Kaz, would you like to give us a last word? Oh.
Yep, here.
All right,
here.
great.
By the way, yep. Hi. Opening my webcam here, by the way. Yeah, maybe I have one prediction a little for the next year. Because first we had Steam Deck slight uptick in the Linux desktop. Maybe the next big task would be to enhance the experience for the web content consumers, maybe to tell it this way. Like watching Netflix in higher resolutions, maybe this will be the next
HDR,
big thing.
HDR as well.
Yeah, HDR as well, web HDR. And yeah, Netflix, I don't know, Hulu and other things.
Yeah, all the streaming services,
yeah. Because right now you have like, what, 720p at most?
Yeah, at best, yeah.
Maybe then next big thing will be this.
Yeah.
I hope so, but a lot of that is also dependent on those platforms themselves, those providers.
Some of them work at 1080p as far as I know.
Yeah. Well... if you install Widevine, for example, on browsers, you get a little bit better support, but you have to install something extra.
Yeah, but even 1080p, I mean, if you're watching on a 4K device, that's still
it will look bad.
Yeah, not great.
it's not good. Well, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks.
And Erjan, are you there? I'm not sure. Well, I think he just dropped out. Yep. Well, let me go ahead and get my last word in then. My prediction, Big Pod, is that Microsoft will buy Canonical.
I know that won't happen.
You don't think so?
No.
And that you will go to work for Microsoft at that point. That's my prediction.
Nice.
Well,
You will turn down the job at SpaceX to go work for the newly owned Canonical.
It could happen.
We'll all meet you in Seattle.
Oh, that's right. You're going to have to relocate.
Yeah, we'll have a party in Seattle. Up on the needle.
And we wouldn't have security clearance to get in there, though only Big Pod can get in.
We could go up on the needle and wave at him.
Oh, yeah. We'd have to meet him somewhere, like at a Starbucks or something. All right. Well, appreciate you guys for hanging out with me on camera and the YouTube chat. You guys are great, too. I also want to thank the patrons that couldn't be here, so I'm going to show some names on the screen. So these are all of the supporters over on Patreon. I want to thank each and every one of those lovely people. And other than that, I'm going to wave bye to YouTube. Bye, YouTube.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Big Pod.
Bye bye.
I'm streaming
JavaScript.
from Windows,
Hey,
by the
guys.
way.